Well, good morning everyone again. Welcome to Wednesday's edition of Breakfast with Evo. And this morning we're going to talk about hole 15, having covered hole 4 on Monday and Tuesday hole 8. I hope you've benefited from the videos that we sent out on those two holes. And hole 15 hopefully is going to be no exception. There's plenty to learn about this hole, which is now an extremely difficult par 3, especially if you play it from the new back tee. That's the white plate, 185 yards, really tricky. And believe it or not, it's now just over 200 yards to the back of that green. So if the flag's back right, an awfully difficult shot. So let's go to the film I made last week, have a look at hole 15. Let's take a look at that now. I mentioned we've been blessed here at Tandridge with some fantastic par 3s, and hole 15 is no exception. 180 yards from the back tee, really narrow green, guarded by 3 bunkers, and a huge run off to the right hand side that's going to sweep any block tee shot off down into the rubbish, and possibly you won't find your ball. So where do we aim? Let's look at the back bunker. The middle of the back bunker is a great line. It'll take you down the left half of the green. You need to club up because it'll always play long. Let's go and have a look and see at the green what's up there slope wise. But the left side or middle of that back left bunker, that's the perfect place to go. So make sure you line up properly. Well, I've come down to the yellow tee on hole 15 so that you're not quite as worried as you may be when you come here for a round of golf, because from this tee it's 142 yards. It's a much easier hole. But again, take heed of the line. Look at the right edge now of that back bunker, and that's probably a good place to be aiming from this tee. Well, and another amazing view greets you here on hole 15 as we approach the green. Here's that front right-hand bunker, favourite place for lots and lots of players. We were going to be aiming at that back bunker as we run up the green, and you can see how long this green is. Very narrow. The left-hand side has a bit of a gully which will catch a stray ball to the left, but the one we're concerned with most of all, that's this drop down here off that right-hand side. That's the place to avoid. Let's keep the ball on the left half of the green, and that's the place that we're going to make a par from. Well, as you can see from that clip, hole 15 is no cinch these days, and at 185 from that back tee. Narrow entrance, guarded by that front right bunker, the big drop down on the right hand side, front left bunker with the gully behind it. Really is a difficult shot. And what we don't normally take into consideration on that hole as well is that that prevailing southwesterly is blowing from left to right down the hole, causing the ball to go more right than you think. So shot shape, choice of shot that we play into that hole is really important. We're going to have a look at it from 4 different tees today. Back plate 185, front white 143, and then we're going to move across to the yellow tees at about 135, and then the ladies tees at 125. All difficult shots. The more right we go, the more carry there is, at least from the left hand side tees. You can get into the green from the shoot up, but from the yellows and the ladies, you're going to have to carry the ball all the way onto the green. Okay, so from that back white plate, first of all, the good players, you've taken your laser out, you've got your pin distance, and now you need to come back and you need to work out what your landing distance is so that you don't go too far on the green. So work out your landing distance, and you're going to do that for the conditions of the green at the time, but also now, if you've just played 14 from the top of the hill down and off the left, now you know you walk back up onto that tee, you're going to be playing this tee shot down and off the left. So your favoured shot into this hole is a small draw, and that's really important to try to set yourself up for a small draw so that you're starting it over the right half of the green and then bringing it back to safety. There's still enough room for you to land your ball and still be on the right hand side of the green. But if that wind is coming off the left hand side and you're not feeling it very often, so that draw shot is going to help you to keep your line stay on the green. The most important thing from that back white tee is to commit to your shot. So whatever your yardage is, what I don't want you doing off that back white tee is to take a club that you have to come off it a little bit and to try and hit something easy. I really want you to hit a powerful shot into that hole, fully committed swing, fully committed turn, hit that little draw shot, and you're going to do really, really well as long as you've worked out your yardage to carry that front right bunker and work your ball into the middle of the green. That'll be a great starting point from that back tee. Now let's have a look at the next tee forward, and that's the forward white. Of course, we used to play from that forward white tee every Sunday, and from all competition play there was no back tee, and now it's a completely different hole from back there. So it's a relief, a welcome relief, when that tee is on the forward side and we can play from that white tee at about 143. Here, take the wind. I want you to really go pin searching from this tee. Great opportunity, 143 yards. If the green's hard, obviously come back a bit, work out your landing position, but again, I want you to be thinking about maybe setting up for that small draw. Remember, club face pointing at the target, feet slightly pointing slightly to the right, make that swing from a little bit from the inside, hit that little draw shot, and your ball is coming into that flag, into the middle of the green. And anywhere on the middle of that green is a great place, because you won't be too far away from the flag as long as you've got the right club in your hand. So fairly straightforward from that tee, but again, it's about committing from that tee to hit a proper shot. Now let's go over to the other side and have a look at the difficulties faced for the players from the yellow tees and the ladies. But I guess you've all played the hole enough from that right hand side to know that it's a difficult shot, and the tees actually point relatively left in terms of where the green is. So if you're actually set up on those tees, when the next time you're up there, just actually have a look and see how far left the tees point in the direction of the green. They actually point off the left hand side. Now what that means is that if you take slightly too much club, you'll go over the green and into the gully on the left, and that's a difficult shot, and I'm actually going to come to that shot in a minute and how we're going to play that shot. So remember that lining up on that hole is really, really important. So what I want you to do is think about where the flag is. If it's right, obviously that's dangerous, you need to be a bit left of that. But just like I've said on the video, if you have a look at that back bunker, that will give you the perfect opportunity to line up at either the right edge of it or the middle. And that's probably a safe line. Even the right hand side of that bunker is still only middle of the green. The next time you have a look at it, you'll be able to see. So from the yellow tees and from the ladies tees, you have to be brave, take enough club and hit it with that big carry and get it over onto the green. So yesterday's video, which we looked at hitting the ball higher, in actual fact that was Monday, we looked at hitting the ball higher into hole 4. That's exactly the same strategy that you should be using on hole 15. It's all carry, and that's the way that you'd like to be playing the shot. Don't try and get it running in from the left. I want you to think you can carry the ball, use lots of club head speed, ball will carry onto the green, and that's how you're going to get it done. So remember from that one, we want the ball forward in the stance so that we can feel as if we're hitting up on the ball more and hit it nice and high and get it to land on the green. So, shot I talked about just before was the shot if you miss the green down the left hand side. On Friday I'm going to cover lob shots. They may be useful for the right hand side, and we'll talk about that Friday. But what we're going to do today is we're going to talk about the left hand side and the mistakes I see people making from that left hand side gully. Well, we've all been in there, the left hand gully, and a really, really difficult chip because the gully gets dry. There's not much growth in there, which makes it quite awkward to chip from. And when we chip up and land either on the green, or we don't quite get the distance right and it lands on the downslope and shoots to the other side, I've seen people play absolutely perfect shots from that gully and get nowhere near the flag. The ball always runs to the other side, and the reason why is because there's enough of a downslope even when you actually get onto the putting surface for it to land and just go down, and you can't hit it hard enough to generate enough spin on the ball to actually get the ball to stop. So the problem is that, you know, despite playing the greatest shot ever, you've just tried to play the wrong shot. And all we need to do there is we need to play a shot where we use the contours of the ground to kill the speed of the ball. So we can play a proper shot from either a good lie or a bad lie. And what we're actually trying to do is we're trying to chip the ball into the bank, let the bank stop the ball, and then the ball will just roll over the bank down onto the green, and now you can start controlling the speed. Yes, we need a little bit of good fortune from the bounce, but generally your ball will now be in a much better position for you to make par from that chip shot. So let's forget trying to lob them from the gully. Let's try and play a little chip and run, land the ball into the bank, and let's have a look and see how we're actually going to play that shot right now. Where you can see behind me that I've set up a little contraption in the garden, something for me to aim at and pretend that I'm actually playing that shot on 15 and having a look at that bank and making sure that I try to pitch the ball into the bank. It's slightly high, but if we took the dip into the equation, you can see that the ground is coming up and goes over. So my job here would be to land the ball probably halfway up my little target here that I've put in front of me. So that's exactly what I'm going to try and do right now. And the first job I've got to do is to choose the club that's going to get me to be able to chip the ball from here and chip it forward, land it on that bank. So have a good think. Which club would you use now? You're slightly on the downslope, but you want the ball to just come and elevate slightly, hit the bank takes the sting out of the speed, over it goes and rolls down right next to the pin. Have a good think about that. Which club would you use? So have you decided who said a wedge? 9 iron, 8 iron, 7 iron. Do you know what? You could play it with absolutely anything. And I guess it really does depend on whether or not you're on the downslope or whether your ball has got to the bottom of the gully. First and most important thing to remember is that yes, we use different clubs because we know the ball will travel lower and run more, or higher and run less. But remember this also, the slower you actually hit the shot, the less elevation, the less projection that the ball's going to have into the air anyway. So because you're having to hit this shot so softly, it's not going to get off the ground as much as you think. So in actual fact, I would prefer to use my sand wedge, my gap wedge, which is 52 degrees, my pitching wedge, and in some situations my 9 iron. But if you think about it, I'm on the downslope, I'm not hitting it very hard, it isn't going to go in the air, it's always going to stay down, and that doesn't matter even if I'm hitting a sand wedge and I've got my hands forward slightly with the loft a little bit down. I don't think that's going to get off the ground very much. So let's have a look and see if I can hit the middle of the board first of all with my 58 degree sand wedge. Let's have a look at that. Well, that was a little bit low on the board, but I did actually adjust my setup accordingly. So what did I do? Let's have a think about all of the things that we've done in the last 2 weeks. I put the ball back in my stance and I closed the loft down. And even with my sand wedge, I actually hit the bottom of the board. So now what I'm going to do is move the ball position forward slightly. Let's see what happens. Okay, now that one was right on the money. Hit the board in the perfect position, and that would have probably landed on the bank, hit the bank, trickled over and gone down by the pin. So that was absolutely ideal. Now I hit that really softly and it hit the middle of the sign, so I really don't think I can get away with much more. So if you wanted to hit something that had less loft on it, remember you probably couldn't pitch it as much onto the bank. You may have to pitch it short, but if the grass in that gully has actually started to grow a little bit, it might be awkward to run it through. So remember, there is going to be a bit of trial and error here for you, but what this represents is a fantastic practice exercise for you to be doing in the garden. Not chipping the ball into the bucket 20, 30, 40, 50 yards away, but seeing if you can actually control your ball just by chipping it into this position. So you're pretending that you're chipping it into a bank. So I'm going to give it my best shot now. I'm going to hit one at the bottom, one at the middle, and then one at the top. No outtakes, no editing. Let's give it a go. Let's see if I can do that. This is how I want you to be practicing. Just not far enough for the bottom. Eyes on the ball, keep them nice and still. Middle. Yes. Now the next one, I'm envisaging that the bank is slightly higher, same club, slightly more speed. No, that's not good. Yes, much better. Okay, so took a couple of goes, but we've managed to get one at the bottom, one at the middle, one at the top. And you can go over that drill over and over and over and over. And what that's teaching you to do is it's teaching you to just use the same club but get different results from different ball positions and of course different speeds. So the big question is, what happens when I reduce the loft now and try to do the same thing? 9-iron. Now there's no point me going for the bottom of the target because I know I can hit the bottom of the target no problem at all. And at the bottom of the target I can also probably keep the speed down so that it actually rolls the right distance onto the green and it doesn't roll through the other side, which is what the problem was in the first place. The problem is now is that can I actually chip the ball onto the top with a 9-iron and hope that it stops? I actually don't think I've got a prayer of doing that, and that's why I'm showing you can play this club, this shot, even with your most lofted clubs. So let's try it with a 9-iron. We'll actually have a look at it at normal speed. Can it hit the top? And let's see how fast it's going when it does. To give myself a better chance here, I've moved the ball position forwards now so that I'm using a full complement of 9-iron loft. Managed to pull that off first time, which is an absolute miracle, I'd say. But did you see how fast it was traveling when it actually hit the board? It was going to go miles. So on 15 there would have been no way that I could aim for the top side or even the middle of that bank and expect it to stop on the green. It would have gone into the bank and just run too far through. So the only option for me with 9-iron is to actually play the shot that we talked about earlier, and that one is going to go much softer and much lower, and it's almost like trying to play a chip and run through the rough. That's a much more dangerous shot to play because we're in the lap of the gods as to what the outcome will be. So that's hole 15 and a relevant shot for the hole. I hope you've enjoyed today's video on hole 15. I hope it gives you some insight in how you're going to look at the hole in a different way. Aiming, shape of shot, and if you go into the nasty gully on the left, now you've got the armory to be able to play a lovely little killing the speed chip into the bank, over onto the green and right by the hole for a tap-in par. As I say, hope you've enjoyed it. Remember, click the like button if you did. It really helps me out. Subscribe to the channel. I'll see you guys tomorrow. We're going to be taking a look at hole 7 tomorrow, and we haven't had a look at that one at all, so we're going to have a look at hole 7. So enjoy this one, and I'll see you all tomorrow.